If you are a professional speaker, a consultant, entrepreneur, or an expert in your domain, the one thing you need to understand is that there is a huge demand for your knowledge and expertise in the market today. And authoring a book is one of the most effective ways to communicate your expertise and establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry. Today, we have with us author, entrepreneur, professional speaker, and setback leadership consultant, Srijata Bhatnagar. With over 20 years of experience building multiple businesses, speaking professionally, and coaching numerous organizations, Srijata is an absolute treasure trove of transformational knowledge. She's used her years of experience to write and publish her first book, Setback Leadership, a detailed account of how leaders can turn their setbacks into successes and how you can too. Srijata, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me.
Thanks, Sushant. It's my pleasure, totally. I would love to have a chat with you.
Right. So let's get started right away. So obviously you have built a brand as a setback leadership consultant who works with some of the top entrepreneurs and organizations in India. And of course, there's plenty to unpack right there. But I want to start off with something I found very interesting. So I believe you were referred to as the Iron Lady who can cry too. So what's the story behind this and how was this title actually coined?
Well, I mean, you're bringing me back to my memory lane, I guess. And the story starts when I was at a very deep, inside a very deep challenge. And I wasn't able to find my own identity around that time as a leader. And I had lost a lot of money in business and I didn't know what to do around it. I was losing my, they say the leadership, what do I say, X factor in that time. Right. So I had gone ahead and enrolled myself to a workshop. Mm-hmm. And so in that workshop, during the process in the workshop, I came across how vulnerability could be a strength. Okay. Until then, I always believed that vulnerability is the most weakest thing that you can do as a leader and as a human being. So I would hide away when I had to cry or maybe show my vulnerable self to people. In that workshop, what happened is that there was an exercise that was given to us. It was as simple as that you had to break iron rod with your throat. Oh, wow. So you had to keep the iron rod on your throat and you had a partner on the other side who would keep the iron rod on his or her throat. And both of you together with the power of team had to bend that particular iron rod. Oh, and initially I thought, oh, okay, it's not a big deal. The rod is very, thin and it's possible with teamwork and et cetera, et cetera. But as I started doing it, I realized it wasn't easy.
Yeah, of course.
The rod was going almost in my throat. In fact, I had bruises of it for almost 6 months after that, but it kept on going inside my throat and, hurting me. And the more it hurt me, the more I felt, I would say helpless that I couldn't do it. I wasn't this strong also. I mean, I was questioning myself. My capabilities are only this much. I can't even bend this damn rod. And with that, with that fear, with that inability to perform, with that inability to trust and, trust the other person and going ahead and doing that, I started crying and I started crying in front of about 250 people. And as I started crying, I realized people started cheering me on more. And they started saying, hey, Srijata, go on, you can do it, and so on and so forth. After almost some 10 trials of not able to do it, finally, I could bend that rod. Wow. And after I bent that rod, I started crying even more profusely. With the, this was more of a cry of happiness or, tears of happiness as they call it. And that's when I came down and I started walking towards the island to go to my seat, everybody started shouting, hey, you are an Iron Lady who can cry too, and just treat this as your strength. Since then, the name came across to be that.
Wow, what an interesting story indeed. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Right, so I want to also touch upon your journey that led you to publish your book. Obviously, like you mentioned, you have been through various kind of setbacks in your own life. and you have that 20 years of professional experience as well. And you've made a name for yourself as somebody who's used your own experiences to coach other leaders through personal and professional setbacks. Right. So, at what
Right.
point and why did you decide to take your experience and decide to like package it into a book?
So this happened because of another experience. So as an entrepreneur, we are assumed that we are great speakers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that was by virtue of being an entrepreneur, you get the stage for yourself, which doesn't happen for professional speakers, unfortunately. But as entrepreneurs, you just get the stage because you need to hustle, you need to talk about your business, you're the founder of the business, so people want to know about it. So sometime in 2015, I guess, 91 Springboard had invited me to talk about my entrepreneurship journey. And they were very specific that I speak about failures, because not many entrepreneurs have the, I would say that bravery, or they're not as brave as sharing their failures that easily. People like to talk about and chest thumping that yes, I am great, I did this great, and etc., etc. But what are the challenges that an entrepreneur faces that nobody speaks about? So they called me and they said, would you like to share this? And I jumped at the idea because by then I had already failed multiple times in business. And I was like, it's important that other entrepreneurs, especially budding entrepreneurs, get to know about this. So I went up there in the stage. But before that, I realized that it's not only about the business failures, it is also about personal failures. The confidence gets low because you would have probably experienced a personal setback or the other, because of which your confidence slowly gets lower, or that's what happens. So I started talking and I spoke about 10 mistakes that I had done, or 10 failures that I have faced in my entire life. So what happened is there were about 150 people in the room, and that was my first experience of how people get impacted by a good speech or by a good story. And so people came immediately after my speech was over, and they thanked me profusely, telling me that they got hugely impacted and realized that every challenge that they have faced in their life actually can become their strength. So that was, I think, the seed that was sown regarding this book. And initially, I started thinking of this book as my own personal life's mistakes and what I learned from them. But as I started writing the book, I realized it would be more better, because I was already working with a lot of leaders by then, and getting to know various kinds of challenges that they have faced in their life. So then I realized that it is important to get their perspectives as well. So that's how I went ahead and interviewed leaders from different walks of life, and shared their perspective about how they changed their setbacks into opportunities. That's how the book came about.
I think it's a very interesting concept that you've actually brought up. I also personally think, when we talk about like case studies, when we learn about entrepreneurs and their successes, we only learn a lot about what they did to succeed. We don't learn enough about all the failures in between. And I personally think there's a lot more one can actually learn from failures rather than just what went right for entrepreneurs and so on. So it is something that's very necessary also that you managed to cover in your book, and of course in your consultancies, in your speeches, and so on. Right. So go on.
No, so I was agreeing to you that the fact is, yes, we learn more from our mistakes than from our successes. And I think it's time that the world gets to know it, that, the setbacks are not like end of the story. It's starting of another new story. And that's what matters. And that's how I would just like to leave the message, I would say.
Wonderful. So I want to touch upon your book now. And and I also want to bring about an interesting point of view. So, which is this. One of the things that many professionals and experts kind of miss out when they publish a book is, when it comes to objective setting. So when it comes to setting objectives of publishing a non-fiction book, especially, a lot of people miss out that it doesn't just stop at trying to sell as many books as possible, which is, there is a whole new set of authors out there for whom selling a book is just a small part of their overall objective. Right? So these, we call them entrepreneurs, are actually focused more on building the personal brand and scaling up their professional careers or their businesses through their book. So is this something that you focused on when you started publishing your book? And how did it work out for you after publishing?
Well, initially, if you ask me, even I was like the other, authors that you're talking about who would like to focus on selling more and more books. So when I started writing the book, my objective was to become like the #1 bestseller, sell 10,000 copies of books, etc., etc. But over a period of time, I realized, and especially after speaking to multiple other entrepreneurs who have written multiple books in specifically nonfiction genre, and doing research around it, I realized that I'm just undermining the capability of what my book can do for me as a personal brand. And that's when I completely shifted the focus from selling books to using the book as a tool which can bring in more business for me, which can create the brand identity for me. So I definitely changed it. And what I did is immediately after I published the book, so I think I published the book on 10th of November, 2019. And 14th of November, I was speaking at a global stage called Go Global Author Summit, where I had unveiled the book for the very first time in front of 500 people. So what happened is that the book actually opened a lot of windows, a lot of doors, and a lot of opportunities for me in different ways. So I don't see it as, okay, how many copies did I sell? Did I become a national bestseller or not? Because that's not what my objective is. My objective is the book reaching the right audience where it is supposed to reach to? Are my prospects or my would-be clients reading this book, liking this book, referring this book? And in that sense, I think it has been a huge success.
Right. I think very well put. When you go out on stage in one of your speeches and you unveil your book in front of like an audience of maybe 500 or 600 people, all of them, you immediately build that sort of credibility that you're a published author, and you've written you managed to write and publish a whole book, and it reinforces the fact that you're an expert in your domain as well. And I think that is sort of like one of the best business cards that you can actually have. A lot of people these days have started using the books as a business card itself. And on a platform like that, if you can, actually unveil your book, I think that's it's the best kind of business card that you can actually have in your repertoire. Right.
Yes. And, we joke around in our circle that book is the only business card that your prospects pay you for. So they buy your book, your business card.
Absolutely. So for some of the other people who are looking to take on the same journey as you, some of the other domain experts and thought leaders, they would obviously like to know what some of the specific things that you've done to grow your brand as a leadership coach. And also, I guess they would like to know what kind of role the book played, which I've already explained. But are there something specific? Are there some specific things that you have done in order to grow your brand as a leadership coach? And also, would you have any tips for them, the others out there who are trying to do the same thing?
Yes, surely. So first of all, it's important to find out what is the book is all about. It can't be generic. It can't be generic like motivation, leadership, customer service, and so on and so forth. Because when we're talking about personal brand, there has to be a uniqueness to the brand. And to do that, if you are using book as a tool for that, then the book also has to, I would say, take that brand along with them. So for me, when I was writing the book, I paid a lot of attention on the title of the book. So Setback Leadership was a really thought through title. And why did I choose that title? There are various reasons behind it. In fact, I started writing the book with the title in mind, 10 Mistakes of My Life. But then that didn't turn out to be, eventually it became Setback Leadership, because I realized that it is important to build a brand, which is one, unique. Second thing, it is something that you resonate with completely. Three, this is the target audience that you want to work with. You can't work with anyone because you can't define anyone. So you need to first define what is the book is all about, what is the target market that you're going to target to, how are you going to bring it out? Is it going to be a narrative kind of a book? Is it going to be a, I would say, action-oriented book? What is the genre that how is the writing style? That is third thing. And you need to also find out what are your objectives from the book. Is it going to be building your brand? Is it going to be becoming a national bestseller? Is it going to be, making yourself or taking your brand to the next level? And whatever it is, focus on that bit and then work on it. Once the book has been published, then now is the time to leverage it. How do you leverage it? Like for me, this is something that I do with my book is whenever I connect with someone on LinkedIn, specifically someone who's reaching out to me, and we have connected on a mutual respect point of view and mutual benefit point of view, I gift them a free e-copy of my book. Now, why do I do that? Because when they read the book, they know what is there in my head, and they become my brand ambassadors over a period of time. Yeah. I mean, I'm not looking for them to refer me to somebody, but they eventually do. And that's what is, you can think about it. Now, when you're giving an e-copy, you're not really losing anything, because you don't have to print a book, you don't have to send it across, you're not incurring any cost as such, but you're still creating that impact. So that's one very interesting tip that I can share.
That is really interesting, because a lot of people are actually they don't like the idea of giving something away for free. They think it's sort of like decreases the value. But as publishers, we also tell our authors, the initial traction that you can build, by giving out something, by sharing the knowledge, especially when it's a nonfiction book, you're actually imparting some knowledge, and that creates a bigger impact than just like trying to sell your book to that particular person. And another interesting thing you mentioned was focusing on the packaging, which is the title and the cover and the target market. I have to say again, like when we work with authors, these are some things that we try to reinforce in them all the time. Again, of course, for fiction books as well, title and cover is important, but for non-fiction books, it's doubly more important, because people are not just searching for interest-based books, right? They are searching for very specific things that they would that they can actually learn from. So I guess it's really important for authors to know that if they can communicate very directly on the what their book is about to the right readers, then they increase the chances of the reader actually picking up the book by that much more. So yeah, very well put, Srijata.
Yes.
Yeah, and
thanks. Just one thing I would like to mention here, other than the title, your book cover matters a lot, especially for non-fiction books here I'm talking about, because the title is going to be probably straightforward. It's not going to be very twisted like the non-fiction books, which is more of curiosity-based books, right? However, if the book cover depicts your brand colors, then there is a direct association. They know, okay, this is from this particular person. This is the brand. It is coming out. So just be very, very careful on designing the book cover, designing your title of the book. Put a lot of effort in that.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Srijata. I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot of useful information on how to take their professional experience and package it into a successful book. Thank you again for taking the time to have a chat with me today. I hope to catch you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Shashank, for having me. I hope it was useful.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.